Hello, and welcome to the Shopfix Woodshop. Today, I'd like to give you a tour around and show you a few features of my shop in hopes that it'll give you a few ideas for your woodshop. Stick around. So before we tour around the shop, I want to kind of give you an idea of the space that I'm working with. So this one car garage is 12 feet by 23 feet. So space saving was definitely a concern when setting up this wood shop. And that's kind of why I designed it the way I did. I wanted to definitely save as much space as possible so that I still had some space to work with and assemble projects. So let's get started, and I hope you really enjoy this shop tour. Let's start the tour off at my dust collection system. Now we're down here on the side of my standalone work cart, and you can see it's where I house my benchtop joiner, and over here is my DeWalt planer. And I built this to save as much space as possible, especially because I'm working in a small shop. The jointer work area is right above the planer work area, and it saves a lot of space. I was thinking about maybe doing a flip cart, but this is even better because I don't have to change the position of the machines or move them around. So it's ready to go, everything's set up, and I can go right to the machine, open up the blast gate, and everything's ready and set up. And it doesn't take up much room. Right here you can see is where I house my planer sled, and I got a piece of cherry that I just finished up on it. And it's kind of nice that I had this area down here because it's not in the way of the planer, and I can just house that right there for whenever I need it. And that's about it for this side of the work cart. Now that I've covered the jointer and the planer side of this work cart, I want to show you this side, which houses my drill press and my miter saw. The way I designed this was that I knew that if I put the drill press at the right height, I can easily raise the table up to allow any kind of boards that I put on the miter saw to pass underneath the drill press. And so far it's worked out perfectly. Instead of having multiple carts for like a drill press or a planer, especially because they're not stand-up models, they're benchtop models, so every single machine would have had to have their own stand. And with this, I have one stand that houses like almost all my machines, which can be movable. It's really cool because I have changed the position of this whole cart a few times, and it can move with all the machines on the cart. It makes it to where my shop can be rearranged easier. And that might be something that you want to think about too, is that if you do have benchtop models, get them on some carts with wheels, and that way when you do want to switch up your wood shop, you can easily do so. Another thing you can see is that I have built a dust box from the miter saw, and I definitely recommend that too because the miter saw creates a ton of dust, way more than I could have ever imagined. So with the dust box and with the dust collection hoses routed to the dust box, it really helps out. Now we're towards the back of my wood shop where I house my Tablesaw workstation. And the job site Tablesaw I have housed in this workstation is the DeWalt DWE 7480. And the work surface is 5 feet by 3 feet, which gives me plenty of room to rip large sheet goods, but also I have plenty of room to build projects, do glue ups and all sorts of things on top of this workstation. I actually haven't needed to build a workbench because this doubles as a very, very large workbench, bigger than most shops can house. Without the need for a workbench, my workshop was able to have a little bit more real estate for some other things, especially some just free space for assembling large projects and also storing lumber. And what's awesome is that this workstation also can store lumber underneath as well. I recently built 2 shelves that extend the full base of this Tablesaw workstation. I can house really long material underneath the workstation. And with this much area, I can house cutoffs, long pieces like 4-foot pieces, 4-foot 2x4s. So it's really handy that I had this real estate down here because, you know, my workshop's not very big and I was actually storing my lumber down in the basement. And so this allows me to have some wood storage in the garage without taking up any more space. So this is definitely something you might want to think about for your wood shop. This is by far probably the #1 area that I'm always working because of the large surface area on top. I'm always like building projects on it, gluing up stuff. As far as the table saw goes, I haven't had any trouble ripping large sheet goods or doing any sorts of cuts on the table saw workstation, not even cove cuts. So no problems there. Really enjoy it, and I think you would too if you built kind of like a table saw workstation, if you have a smaller wood shop and you're considering a job site table saw. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. I thought it'd be a good idea to cover the clamps that I have in my wood shop to give you an idea of what clamps that you may need in your wood shop. So I have a lot of F-style clamps of various sizes. I have a band clamp and I also have bar clamps. And by far and away, the F-style clamps, these are Bessie F-style clamps, and I use these almost every project. So definitely get a variety of styles of clamps and also a variety of lengths of clamps. Also, I really recommend the Bessie band clamp for any picture frames that you're doing. If you're gluing up miters, the band clamp is the best way to go because it creates equal pressure on all 4 corners when clamping up picture frames. So that's huge. I use that on all sorts of projects. Not even just picture frames, but anytime I need to glue a box structure up and have clamping pressure equal on all 4 corners, I use this. So, and it's worked every time really great. So I would definitely start off with some F-style clamps, like the Bessie clamps. You can find these at Home Depot. They come in a package set, and I think if you're gonna get F-style clamps, go to Home Depot. As far as I know, they still sell them, and it's a package of Bessie F-style clamps like this, and it's the best value, the best bang for your buck. That's where I got all of these, except these. These come individually, and I just needed a little bit longer ones just in case I needed them. But these have definitely been the prime clamps that I've been using. So that's about it for my clamps. If you have any questions on any clamps that I've used or any clamps that you may need, just comment below. Alright, now we're over here towards the front of my wood shop where I house 2 very important machines, and not necessarily because of what they do, but because of where they came from. Both machines were used by my grandpa, and he kind of started me off learning a few things about woodworking and getting me interested. And from there, I did high school wood shop, and then just recently got back into it because, you know, I love building things and fixing things, so it's kind of cool to have some of his tools and machines in my wood shop. So this DeWalt scroll saw is really handy, and a lot of people don't have scroll saws in their wood shop. You can supplement a scroll saw definitely with just a regular jigsaw, but the scroll saw can definitely do more intricate cuts, and it's kind of nice to have in a wood shop. Next, I thought we'd take a quick look at the 2 bandsaws I have in my wood shop. First, I have this benchtop model Ricon, and I recently purchased this stand-up Delta model. Now this is a used model, and I can tell you that I've got much more bang for my buck buying this for a few $100 more than that model cost me, and it can do 10 times more. So I would recommend definitely saving a few $100 more, you know, $100, $200 to buy a used stand-up model rather than buying a new benchtop model. It's going to do everything that a newer benchtop model is going to be able to do, but you're going to be able to resaw lumber, you're going to be able to cut thicker lumber, and it's going to be more reliable. So I definitely recommend that for your wood shop. Now we're on the side of my wood shop where I store pretty much everything woodworking related. I have much more content on my channel page that I bet you may find useful, and and don't forget to subscribe for future videos. Well, as always, thanks for watching, and until next time, have fun with your shop fix.